The headlights barely cut through the white wall ahead. Daniel's hands gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles had gone numb an hour ago. The windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the blizzard, each swipe revealing nothing but more snow, more darkness, more road that looked exactly like the last mile. He should have been home 2 hours ago. Lily was waiting. She always waited by the window, her small face pressed against the glass, counting the minutes until his truck pulled into the driveway. But the double shift at the factory had run late, and now the storm had turned the highway into a frozen nightmare. He almost missed it. Just a flash of red in the sea of white, barely visible through the curtain of snow. Daniel hit the brakes, felt the truck slide, corrected, and pulled onto what he hoped was the shoulder. He killed the engine and grabbed his flashlight. The wind hit him like a fist when he opened the door, stealing his breath, but he pushed forward. The red was a taillight, he realized now. An expensive one, the kind that belonged to cars he'd only seen in magazines. The vehicle was on its side in the ditch, passenger side down, driver's side exposed to the merciless sky. Daniel slid down the embankment, his boots sinking into snow up to his knees. He reached the driver's window and shined his light inside. A woman, unconscious, blood on her temple. Her designer coat was torn and her face was pale as the snow surrounding them. He tried the door, locked. He grabbed a rock, hesitated only a second, then smashed the window. The alarm screamed into the storm. He reached inside, unlocked it, and pulled her out. She was lighter than he expected, fragile in his arms. He carried her up the embankment, loaded her into his truck, and wrapped her in the emergency blanket he kept behind the seat. Her pulse was there, faint but steady. He turned the heat up as high as it would go and drove. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Whether you're driving through your own storm or safe at home, we love knowing our stories reach you wherever you are. And if you believe connections like this deserve to be told, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Now, let's see what happened when she opened her eyes in a stranger's home. Evelyn woke to the smell of something burning. Her eyes opened slowly, fighting against the pounding in her skull. The ceiling above her was water-stained and cracked, nothing like the hand-painted Italian frescoes in her penthouse. She tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through her temple, and her vision swam. Where was she? The room was small. A worn couch beneath her, covered with a faded quilt that had been washed so many times the pattern was barely visible. A coffee table with scratches and ring stains. A small television on a stand that looked like it belonged in a museum. Through a doorway, she could see a kitchen, and that's where the burning smell was coming from. "You're awake." The voice was male, cautious. Evelyn turned her head too quickly and winced. A man stood in the doorway, mid-30s maybe, with tired eyes and work-rough hands. He was holding a spatula like a weapon. "You were in an accident. I found you on Route 7 about 3 hours ago. I called 911, but they said the roads are completely blocked. No ambulances getting through until morning." Evelyn touched her temple and felt the gauze taped there. Her fingers came away clean. "You bandaged me?" "YouTube video." He shrugged, almost embarrassed. "I'm not a doctor, but the bleeding stopped. You were talking a little in the truck, so I figured you didn't have a concussion, or at least not a bad one." She tried to stand, and the room tilted. His hand was on her elbow immediately, steadying her. His grip was firm but gentle, the kind of touch that came from someone used to handling fragile things. "Easy. You should rest." "I need to get home. My phone destroyed. It was in pieces in your car. I'm sorry." He guided her back to the couch. "Look, I know this isn't the Ritz, but you're safe here. The storm's supposed to break by dawn. I can drive you wherever you need to go then." Evelyn looked at him, really looked at him. His clothes were clean but worn. His jeans had been mended at the knee. His flannel shirt was the kind men bought at discount stores, not boutiques. But his eyes were kind. That was the thing that struck her. In her world, kindness was a currency, spent strategically. This man's kindness seemed reflexive, like breathing. "What's your name?" she asked. "Daniel. Daniel Foster." He hesitated. "And you are?" "Evelyn." She left off the last name. Cavendish carried weight, and right now she wanted to be weightless. "Thank you for saving my life, Daniel. Anyone would have done the same." "No," she said quietly. "They really wouldn't have." A sound from the hallway made them both turn. A little girl stood there, maybe 6 years old, clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. She had Daniel's eyes, but her hair was lighter, almost blonde. She wore princess pajamas with a hole in one knee. "Daddy, who's that?" Daniel's entire face softened. "This is Evelyn, sweetheart. She was in a car accident. She's going to stay here tonight, okay?" The little girl walked closer, studying Evelyn with the brutal honesty only children possessed. "You're very pretty, like the ladies on TV." "Thank you." Evelyn found herself smiling despite the pain. "What's your name?" "Lily." The girl climbed onto the couch beside her, fearless. "That's Mr. Hops." She held up the rabbit. "He's very old. Mommy gave him to me." Daniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Lily, let's let our guest rest." "It's okay." Evelyn surprised herself. She usually had no patience for children. They were loud, sticky, unpredictable. But something about this little girl, with her gap-toothed smile and her threadbare rabbit, made her chest ache in a way she didn't understand. "Where's your mommy now, Lily?" The little girl's smile faded. "Heaven, she's an angel now. Daddy says she watches over us." Evelyn's eyes flicked to Daniel. He was staring at the floor, his knuckles white around the spatula. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "It was 2 years ago." Daniel's voice was flat, mechanical. "Cancer. We thought we had more time, but—" He stopped, shook his head. "Lily, why don't you show Evelyn your drawing? The one you did at school today." The little girl brightened and ran off. The moment she was gone, Daniel's shoulders sagged. "I'm sorry. She doesn't understand yet why it's not polite to talk about—" "Don't apologize." Evelyn's voice was sharper than she intended. "She's perfect. You're raising her right." Daniel laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Right. That's why we're eating burnt mac and cheese for the 3rd time this week, because I can't cook. And her shoes have holes in them because I can't afford new ones until next paycheck." He caught himself, his face flushing. "I'm sorry. You don't need to hear about my problems." But Evelyn was looking at him differently now, seeing the exhaustion etched into every line of his face, the way his clothes hung a little loose, like he'd lost weight recently, the calluses on his hands. This was a man holding himself together with duct tape and sheer will. "How do you do it?" she asked. "Work and take care of her alone?" "You do what you have to do." He moved to the kitchen and she heard the scrape of a pan. "I work at Patterson Manufacturing. Factory work, assembly line. 2 shifts most days. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, watches Lily after school. It's not perfect, but we manage." Lily ran back in with a piece of paper covered in crayon. "Look, it's our family. That's me, that's Daddy, and that's Mommy in the sky." She'd drawn 3 stick figures, 2 on the ground holding hands, 1 floating above them with wings and a halo. Evelyn took the drawing with trembling hands. When was the last time she'd held something made with this much love? "It's beautiful, Lily. You can keep it if you want. I can make another one." "Lily," Daniel started. "I'd be honored." Evelyn carefully folded the paper. "Thank you." Daniel served dinner on mismatched plates. The macaroni was indeed burnt on the bottom, but Evelyn ate every bite. They sat at a small table that wobbled unless you put a folded napkin under one leg. Lily talked nonstop about school, her best friend Emma, and how she wanted a dog, but Daddy said they couldn't afford one yet. Daniel mostly stayed quiet, but Evelyn caught him watching her. Not with attraction exactly, more like curiosity. Like he was trying to figure out what someone like her was doing in his world. After dinner, Daniel put Lily to bed. Evelyn heard him reading a story through the thin walls. His voice was gentle, patient, doing different voices for each character. When he came back out, he looked even more exhausted. "She's down, finally." He collapsed into a chair across from her. "You can take my bed, I'll sleep out here." "I can't take your bed." "Yes, you can. It's not negotiable." He rubbed his face. "Look, I need to be straight with you. I don't know who you are, but that car you were driving? That was a Bentley. The clothes you're wearing probably cost more than my mortgage. You're not from around here." Evelyn's walls went up automatically. "Does that matter?" "No. But tomorrow, when I drive you back to your life, I need you to understand something." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "What you saw here tonight, this is our life. Every day. I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm also not stupid. We're one emergency away from losing everything. So if you have people who are worried about you, people with money and lawyers and the ability to make my life complicated because I pulled you out of a ditch, I need to know now. You think I'd do that?" Evelyn felt something crack inside her chest. "You saved my life, and you think I'd sue you or—" I don't know what you do. I don't know you. They stared at each other. The kitchen light flickered. Somewhere outside, the wind howled. My parents are Richard and Victoria Cavendish. Evelyn watched his face for recognition. There it was. His eyes widened slightly. You've heard of them. Everyone's heard of them. Cavendish Industries. You're that Evelyn Cavendish? Yes. She hated how small her voice sounded. And tomorrow, when you drive me home, you'll take me to a penthouse worth $8 million. I'll walk in, and my parents will ask where I've been, and I'll lie, because the truth is I was running away from a dinner party where they planned to announce my engagement to a man I've met 3 times. A man I don't love. A man they chose because his company complements ours. Daniel sat back. Jesus. So no, I won't make your life complicated. If anything, you've given me the first real night I've had in years. She laughed bitterly. Burnt macaroni and a couch that smells like dog, even though you don't have a dog. It was perfect. We had a dog. Lily's voice came from the hallway. They both jumped. The little girl stood there, rubbing her eyes. Before Mommy died, his name was Rusty. Lily, baby, you should be asleep. I heard you talking about the pretty lady's parents. Lily climbed into Evelyn's lap without asking permission. Are they mean? Evelyn's throat closed. No one had ever asked her that, not directly. Sometimes, but they're my parents. I have to. No, you don't. Lily's voice was matter-of-fact. Emma's dad was mean and her mom took her away, and now they live with Emma's grandma, and Emma's much happier. You could do that. It's not that simple, sweetheart. Why not? Daniel gently lifted Lily. Because grown-up problems are complicated. Come on, back to bed. But Daddy. Now, Lily. The little girl went, but not before turning back to Evelyn. I hope you stay. You seem sad. Daddy's sad too. Maybe you could be sad together and then not sad anymore. After she was gone, the silence was deafening. I'm sorry, Daniel finally said. She doesn't have a filter. Don't apologize. Evelyn wiped her eyes quickly. She's the most honest person I've met in a decade. They talked until 3 in the morning. Daniel told her about his wife, Sarah, how they'd met in high school, how she'd fought the cancer for 2 years while he worked 3 jobs to pay for treatments that ultimately didn't work, how Lily had been only 4 when Sarah died, old enough to remember but young enough that the memories were starting to fade, how that terrified him more than anything. Evelyn told him about the pressure, the board meetings before she could drive, the tutors and the expectations and the constant message that her value was measured in quarterly earnings, how she'd never been allowed to just be a person, how she'd agreed to this arranged marriage because refusing felt impossible. Why were you on that road? Daniel asked. In the middle of a blizzard. I left the dinner party, just walked out, got in my car and drove. She laughed. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't sit in that restaurant for 1 more second and pretend to smile at a man who looked at me like I was a merger. What are you going to do? I don't know. It was the most honest thing she'd said in years. Go back, face them, probably agree to the engagement because what choice do I have? You could say no. And then what? I'm 32 years old and I've never had a job that wasn't handed to me. I've never paid rent or bought groceries or figured out how to fix a leaky faucet. Everything I have comes from them. If I walk away, I have nothing. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. That's not true. You'd have yourself. That's something. Evelyn looked around the small living room, at the cracked ceiling and the ancient TV and the picture of Sarah on the mantel, at a life built not on money, but on love and sacrifice, and the sheer stubborn refusal to give up. You have more than I do. You know that, right? I have debt and a daughter who needs medicine I can't afford. His voice cracked. Lily has a heart condition, congenital. She needs surgery probably in the next year. The insurance from the factory covers some of it, but not enough. I've been saving, but every time I get close, something else comes up. The car breaks down. The roof leaks. Mrs. Chen needs her payment. I'm drowning, Evelyn. I'm drowning and I can't let Lily see it because she's 6 years old and she shouldn't have to worry about whether her father can keep her alive. Evelyn felt something shift inside her. An idea. Crazy, impossible, but suddenly the only thing that made sense. What if I could help? Daniel shook his head. I didn't tell you that to ask for money. I know, but listen. She leaned forward. You need money. I need freedom. What if we could help each other? I don't understand. What if you married me? Not really. A contract, temporary, 6 months, maybe a year. The words tumbled out faster now. My parents want me married, settled. They don't care who it is as long as he's respectable enough not to embarrass them. You're a widower, a single father, a veteran of the working class. They'll hate it at first, but they'll accept it because the alternative is me refusing to marry at all, and that would be worse for their image. You're insane. Probably. But think about it. I pay you. Enough for Lily's surgery, enough to get ahead. In exchange, you play the part. Some dinners, some photographs. We don't even have to live together. After a year, we quietly divorce. You get the money, I get my freedom, and everyone wins. Except Lily. Daniel's voice was hard. You want me to bring a stranger into her life, let her get attached and then have you disappear. She's already lost one mother. I won't let her lose another. Then we don't tell her the truth. As far as she's concerned, we fell in love. When it ends, we explain that sometimes grown-ups can't make it work. Children understand divorce. No. Daniel stood. Absolutely not. I won't lie to my daughter for money. That's not the kind of man I am. Isn't it worth considering? For her health? For her future? At what cost? Her trust? He paced the small room. You have no idea what you're asking. You're right, I don't. Because I've never had to choose between my pride and my child's life. Evelyn stood too. But you do. And I'm giving you a way out. A way that doesn't involve charity or pity. A fair exchange. Business. There's nothing fair about using my daughter's illness to manipulate me. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing, Evelyn? He turned on her, and for the first time she saw anger there. Real anger. You waltz into my life for one night and suddenly you think you understand what we need? You think money fixes everything? I think money fixes a broken heart valve. The words hung between them like a blade. Daniel's face went pale. Get out. Daniel. I said get out. The storm's over. You can wait in your car until sunrise, and then you can drive yourself back to your castle, and you can forget you ever met us. But Evelyn didn't move. Lily drew me into her family tonight. Did you see? The picture. 3 people holding hands. She drew me as the angel, as her mother watching over them. Tears were streaming down her face now, and she didn't bother to wipe them away. When was the last time someone drew you into their family? When was the last time anyone wanted you around just because of who you are, not what you're worth? Daniel's anger crumbled. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. But it's real. This offer is real, and I'm not leaving until you at least think about it. They stood in the dark living room, 2 broken people trying to figure out if their pieces could fit together, even temporarily. Finally, Daniel spoke. How much? 200,000, half up front, half when we divorce. And Lily never knows it's fake. Never. And if she gets hurt, then I deserve whatever hell you want to rain down on me. Evelyn met his eyes. But I won't hurt her, Daniel. I swear to you. Whatever else I am, I'm not cruel. Daniel walked to the window. Dawn was breaking, pink and gold over the snow-covered street. I need to think about it. Take all the time you need. I don't have time. Her surgery's in 8 months. After that, he stopped. Give me your number. I'll call you in 3 days. Evelyn wrote it on a piece of paper from Lily's art supplies. As she handed it to him, their fingers touched. Thank you for saving me, she said quietly. In more ways than one. I haven't agreed to anything yet. I know, but you didn't throw me out. That's something. She left before Lily woke up. It was better that way, she told herself. Cleaner. But as Daniel's truck disappeared in her rearview mirror, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. And it terrified her. Daniel called on the second day. Evelyn was in a board meeting when her phone buzzed. She glanced at the unknown number and felt her heart stop. She excused herself, ignoring her father's disapproving glare, and stepped into the hallway. Hello? It's Daniel. His voice was tight, controlled. I'll do it, but we need rules. 20 minutes later, they'd hammered out the basics over the phone. No physical relationship. Separate bedrooms if they had to stay under the same roof. Lily's well-being came first, always. The moment either of them felt it was hurting her, they'd end it. And most importantly, they'd sell it. To everyone. Her parents, his neighbors, even Lily. No half measures. When do we start? Evelyn asked. Tonight. Can you come for dinner? I need to introduce you to Lily properly, as someone who might be around for a while. What will you tell her? The truth, sort of. Daniel sighed. That I met someone special. that we're taking things slow, that she shouldn't get too attached yet because grown-ups are complicated. She's 6. She'll get attached anyway. I know. The pain in his voice was palpable. That's what I'm afraid of. Evelyn arrived at 7 with groceries. Daniel had texted her a list, embarrassed but practical. If she was going to be part of this family, even temporarily, she needed to learn the basics, like cooking something that didn't come from a can. Lily answered the door, her face lighting up like Christmas morning. You came back. Daddy said you might, but I didn't believe him because people don't usually come back. The words hit Evelyn like a punch. Well, I'm not most people. Are you Daddy's girlfriend? The question was innocent, curious. Daniel appeared behind her, his face flushed. Lily, what did we talk about? You said I wasn't supposed to ask, but I wanted to know. Lily grabbed Evelyn's hand and pulled her inside. It's okay if you are. Daddy deserves a girlfriend. Mrs. Chen says so. She says he's too young to be alone forever. Mrs. Chen talks too much, Daniel muttered. He took the grocery bags from Evelyn. Thank you for this, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. If I'm going to be around, I should probably learn how to cook something edible. She smiled at Lily. Want to help me? For the next hour, Evelyn learned that cooking with a 6-year-old was chaos. Lily insisted on cracking the eggs, which resulted in shells everywhere. She wanted to stir everything, even things that didn't need stirring. She asked approximately 700 questions about why ingredients did what they did. And somehow, miraculously, they produced chicken stir-fry that was actually edible. Daniel sat at the table watching them. Evelyn caught him staring several times, his expression unreadable. Was he having second thoughts? Probably. She was having them too. This whole plan was insane. What had she been thinking? But then Lily laughed, her whole face transforming with joy, and Daniel smiled. A real smile, not the tired ghost of one she'd seen before. And Evelyn thought maybe, just maybe, they could pull this off. After dinner, Lily wanted to show Evelyn her room. It was small, painted pink by an amateur hand. The furniture was second-hand, the curtains mismatched, but it was clean and filled with love. Drawings covered every wall. Most were of her family, the same 3 stick figures in various configurations. This is where Mommy used to read to me, Lily said, pointing to the bed. Daddy reads to me now, but he doesn't do the voices as good as Mommy did. I heard him the other night. He does pretty good voices. Not for the princess. He makes her sound like a pirate. Lily giggled. It's funny, but it's wrong. Evelyn sat on the bed. What if I read to you tonight? Would that be okay? Lily's eyes went wide. Really? If your dad says it's okay. They found Daniel in the kitchen washing dishes. When Evelyn asked, he hesitated. You don't have to do that. I want to. Something passed between them. An understanding. This was the real test. Not the dinners or the photographs or the act they'd put on for her parents. This, the quiet moments, the bedtime stories, the everyday intimacy of family life. Okay, Daniel said softly. Just for tonight. Evelyn read 3 books. Lily fell asleep during the 4th, her head on Evelyn's shoulder, her breathing soft and even. Evelyn sat there, frozen, afraid to move and wake her. Daniel appeared in the doorway. You can put her down now, he whispered. I don't want to wake her. You won't. She sleeps like the dead. He moved closer, gently lifting Lily and tucking her under the covers. He kissed her forehead, whispered something Evelyn couldn't hear, and turned off the light. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall. She likes you. I like her too. Evelyn surprised herself with how true it was. She's special, Daniel. I know. He looked at her. Really looked at her. This is going to get complicated, isn't it? Probably. Are you sure you want to do this? It's not too late to back out. Evelyn thought about her penthouse. Her empty penthouse with its designer furniture and its view of a city that felt more like a prison every day. She thought about the engagement ring waiting for her, the marriage that would feel like a business transaction. She thought about the rest of her life stretching ahead, predictable and suffocating. I'm sure, she said. Over the next 6 weeks, Evelyn learned what it meant to be part of a real family. She came for dinner 3 times a week, then 4, then 5. She learned Lily's routines. Bath time at 7, bedtime at 8, nightlight on, door cracked open. She learned Daniel's tells. The way he rubbed his neck when he was stressed, the way his jaw tightened when bills came in the mail, the way he smiled at Lily even when Evelyn could see the exhaustion in his eyes. She learned to cook, really cook. Not just follow recipes, but understand ingredients, timing, heat. Daniel taught her, patient and careful, his hands guiding hers when she held the knife wrong. They stood close in the tiny kitchen, and sometimes their arms brushed, and Evelyn felt electricity she hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. She learned about Lily's heart condition, the technical terms, the risks, the timeline. She sat with Daniel while he explained it all, his voice clinical, detached, the only way he could get through it without breaking. Evelyn transferred the first 100,000 the next day. She didn't tell him. She just made sure it appeared in his account, anonymous and clean. He called her, furious. "What did you do? What we agreed on, half up front. The contract isn't even signed yet. My lawyer's still reviewing it. I don't care about the contract, Daniel. Schedule her surgery." There was a long silence, then quietly, "Thank you. Don't thank me. This is business, remember?" But they both knew it wasn't. Not anymore. The first time Evelyn met Daniel's neighbors, Mrs. Chen cornered her immediately. The old woman was small but fierce, with eyes that missed nothing. "So you're the rich lady. I'm Evelyn. I know who you are. I also know what you're worth. I looked you up." Mrs. Chen crossed her arms. "What are you doing with Daniel?" "I care about him." "That's not what I asked." Evelyn met her gaze. "I'm here because he saved my life, and because Lily drew me into her family, and because I haven't felt this real in years. Is that enough for you?" Mrs. Chen studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Maybe. But if you hurt them, rich or not, I'll make your life very difficult." "Understood?" "Understood. Good. Now come inside. I made dumplings." The dinner party with Evelyn's parents was scheduled for week 8. Daniel was terrified. Evelyn could see it in the way he adjusted his tie 17 times, in the way his hands shook when he opened her car door. She'd bought him a new suit. He'd tried to refuse, but she'd insisted. If they were going to do this, they were going to do it right. Lily wore a dress Evelyn had found at a boutique. Nothing too expensive. Nothing that would make Daniel uncomfortable, but beautiful, age-appropriate. The little girl spun in circles in the back seat, watching the skirt flare. "Are your parents nice?" Lily asked. Evelyn glanced at Daniel. "They're complicated. That's what Daddy says about grown-ups, that they're complicated." Lily leaned forward. "But I think that's just a word for when people don't say what they mean." "You might be right," Evelyn admitted. The Cavendish estate was exactly what Daniel had expected, and somehow worse. Gates. A driveway longer than his street. A house that could fit his entire neighborhood inside it. He pulled up to the valet station and felt immediately out of place, even in his new suit. "We don't have to do this," Evelyn said quietly. "Yes, we do." He got out, opened Lily's door, then Evelyn's. He offered her his arm. She took it. They walked up the steps together, a united front. Victoria Cavendish opened the door herself, which should have been Evelyn's first warning. Her mother never answered doors. That's what staff was for. "Evelyn, you're late." Victoria's eyes swept over Daniel, then Lily. Her expression didn't change, but Evelyn saw the calculation there, the judgment. "And this must be your friend." "Mother, this is Daniel Foster." "And his daughter, Lily." Evelyn's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Daniel, my mother, Victoria Cavendish." Daniel extended his hand. Victoria looked at it like it carried disease, but she shook it briefly. "Charmed. Do come in." The house was a mausoleum. That's what Daniel thought as they walked through halls lined with paintings that probably cost more than his life. Everything was white or cream or some shade of beige that had a fancy name. Nothing looked lived in. Nothing looked loved. Lily whispered, "It's like a museum." "It basically is," Evelyn whispered back. Richard Cavendish was waiting in the dining room. He was tall, silver-haired, with the kind of commanding presence that came from decades of being obeyed without question. He looked at Daniel the way someone might look at a stain on their carpet. "So you're the factory worker." "Dad," Evelyn started. "It's okay." Daniel met Richard's gaze. "Yes, sir. I work at Patterson Manufacturing. Assembly line. It's honest work." "I'm sure it is." Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Please sit." Dinner was torture. 7 courses, each more elaborate than the last. Lily didn't know which fork to use, so Daniel helped her quietly, trying not to draw attention. But Victoria noticed everything. "Tell me, Mr. Foster, How did you meet our daughter? Daniel had prepared for this. I helped her when her car broke down. We started talking, one thing led to another. How convenient. Victoria sipped her wine. And your late wife? Cancer, wasn't it? Evelyn's fork clattered to her plate. Mother, that's inappropriate. It's a fair question. I'm simply trying to understand the timeline. Victoria's smile was poisonous. How long has she been gone? 2 years. And you're already moving on with someone so far above your station. Some might call that opportunistic. Some might call it living. Daniel's voice was calm, but Evelyn saw his knuckles go white around his water glass. My wife died. I didn't, and neither did my daughter. We're allowed to be happy again. Are you happy with my daughter, Mr. Foster? Or are you happy with what my daughter can provide? Victoria, that's enough. Richard's voice cut through the tension. Let the man eat. But the damage was done. Lily had gone quiet, her eyes wide and scared. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood the tone. Daniel put his hand over hers under the table. The rest of the dinner crawled by in stilted conversation. Richard asked about Daniel's finances, his prospects, his plans for the future. Victoria made pointed comments about Evelyn's previous relationships, all with men of appropriate breeding and education. Lily didn't say a word. Finally, mercifully, it was over. They stood to leave, and that's when Lily spoke. My daddy is the best man in the world. Her voice was small but fierce. He works 2 jobs so I can have medicine. He reads me stories every night. He makes me breakfast even when he's tired. He loves me more than anything. She looked at Victoria. I don't think you know what that's like, to be loved like that. I feel sorry for you. The silence was deafening. Richard's eyebrows rose. Victoria's face went red. Evelyn fought the urge to applaud. Daniel scooped Lily up. I think it's time we left. Thank you for dinner. They made it to the car before Evelyn started laughing. Not polite laughter. Real, gasping, can't-breathe laughter. Oh my God. Did you see my mother's face? I'm so sorry. Daniel was mortified. I should have prepared her better. Are you kidding? That was the best moment of my life. Evelyn looked at Lily. You, young lady, are my hero. I was rude, Lily said quietly. Daddy always says not to be rude. You weren't rude. You were honest. There's a difference. Evelyn leaned back to see her. And you were absolutely right. Your dad is the best man in the world. Daniel's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. Something passed between them. Something that felt dangerous and inevitable and absolutely terrifying. They drove Lily home, got her ready for bed. The little girl was exhausted emotionally and physically. Daniel tucked her in while Evelyn waited in the living room. When he came out, he looked wrecked. I can't do this, he said. I can't put her through that again. They'll come around, will they? Because what I saw tonight was 2 people who will do everything in their power to destroy us. To destroy me, and Lily will be caught in the crossfire. He paced the small room. Maybe this was a mistake. Daniel, you should go. No. He stopped. Turned to face her. What? I said no, I'm not leaving. Evelyn stood. You want to know what I saw tonight? I saw a man who sat through 2 hours of verbal abuse and never once raised his voice. I saw a father who protected his daughter's innocence while maintaining his dignity. I saw someone I'd be proud to stand next to, contract or no contract. Evelyn. And I saw my parents. Really saw them for the first time in years. They're bullies. That's all they are. And I'm done being afraid of them. She stepped closer. We're in this together now. You, me, and Lily. So if you want to back out, fine. But you're going to have to tell me to my face that you don't want me around. Not because of them. Because of you. Daniel looked at her. Really looked at her. Evelyn felt stripped bare under that gaze. All her walls and defenses meaningless. I can't tell you that, he said quietly. Why not? Because it wouldn't be true. He reached up almost unconsciously and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His hand lingered. Somewhere in the last 2 months, this stopped being pretend for me, and that terrifies me. Evelyn's breath caught. Daniel, I know this isn't real. I know we have a contract and an end date and a plan. I know you're going to wake up one day and realize you've been slumming with a factory worker and go back to your real life. I know all of that. His thumb traced her cheekbone. But right now, in this moment, I want to kiss you more than I've wanted anything in 3 years. And I don't know if that makes me the stupidest man alive or the luckiest. Kiss me and find out. He did. It wasn't like the movies. It was hesitant at first, questioning like he was afraid she'd disappear if he held on too tight. But then Evelyn's hand slid into his hair, and she kissed him back like she was drowning, and he was air, and it became something else entirely, something desperate and real and completely unplanned. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. "This is going to end badly," he whispered. "I know. We should stop. Probably. But I don't want to. Neither do I." They stood there in the dark living room, holding each other like the world was ending. And maybe it was. Maybe this was the beginning of the end. But for the first time in her life, Evelyn didn't care about the future. She only cared about right now. And right now, she was exactly where she wanted to be. They had 6 perfect weeks. 6 weeks where Evelyn learned what it meant to wake up thinking about someone other than herself. 6 weeks where Daniel forgot, sometimes for hours at a time, that this was supposed to be temporary. 6 weeks where Lily started calling Evelyn by a name that made them both freeze the first time they heard it. "Mom." It happened at breakfast. Lily had spilled juice on her school uniform, and Evelyn was helping her change. The little girl looked up completely casual, completely natural, and said, "Thanks, Mom." Evelyn's hand stilled on the buttons. "Lily, sweetie, you don't have to call me that. But I want to." Lily's eyes were earnest. "You do mom things. You make my lunch and help with homework and read stories. That's what moms do." Evelyn looked to Daniel for help. He stood in the doorway, his face a mixture of joy and agony. "Only if you're comfortable with it," he said to Evelyn. No pressure. But there was pressure. So much pressure. Because every time Lily said it, Evelyn felt the knife twist deeper, knowing that one day she'd have to hear Lily ask why Mom left, why Mom didn't want them anymore, why Mom lied. Still, she didn't correct her. She couldn't. The word felt too good, too right, even though it was built on a foundation of sand. The surgery was scheduled for week 14. Lily's heart condition had been stable, but the doctors wanted to operate before winter, before cold and flu season increased the risks. Daniel took time off work, which he couldn't afford, but there was no choice. Evelyn cleared her calendar completely, ignoring her father's increasingly angry calls. The night before the surgery, Lily was scared. She tried to hide it, putting on a brave face, but Evelyn saw through it. They all did. "What if I don't wake up?" Lily whispered. "Like Mommy." Daniel's face went white. "Baby, that's not going to happen." "But what if it does? What if I go to sleep and then I'm in heaven with Mommy?" Tears streamed down her face. "I don't want to leave you and Mom. I want to stay here." Evelyn pulled her close. "Listen to me, you are going to wake up. You're going to wake up and your heart is going to be strong and healthy, and you're going to live a long, beautiful life. Do you hear me?" "How do you know?" "Because I won't let anything else happen. I promise." The words came out fierce, protective, and Evelyn meant every syllable. Somewhere along the way, this had stopped being about contracts and money and escape. This little girl had become hers. Not legally, not officially, but in every way that mattered. The surgery took 8 hours. Daniel paced the waiting room like a caged animal, unable to sit, unable to think. Evelyn sat with her hands clasped so tight her knuckles ached, praying to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Please, please let her be okay. Take anything else. Take everything else, just let her be okay. When the surgeon finally came out, smiling, saying the words, "complete success," Daniel collapsed, just dropped to his knees right there in the waiting room. Evelyn went down with him, holding him while he sobbed into her shoulder. Relief, terror, exhaustion, all of it pouring out at once. "She's okay," he kept saying. "She's okay. She's okay," Evelyn echoed. They were allowed to see Lily 2 hours later. She was groggy, hooked up to machines, but her eyes opened when they came in. "Hey, baby girl," Daniel whispered, taking her small hand. "You did so good. Did they fix my heart?" "They fixed your heart. Good." Lily's eyes drifted to Evelyn. "Mom, will you stay?" "I'm not going anywhere." Lily smiled and fell back asleep. That night, while Lily recovered and Daniel dozed in the chair beside her bed, Evelyn stepped into the hallway to check her phone. 43 missed calls, 67 texts, all from her parents, her assistant, board members. The world she'd been ignoring was demanding her attention. She called her assistant first. Miranda, what's happening? Where have you been? Your parents are furious. They've called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. They're talking about removing you from succession unless you end this. Whatever it is you're doing with that man and his daughter. Evelyn's blood went cold. They can't do that. They can and they will. Your father has the votes. Evelyn, you need to come home. Now. Fix this before it's too late. She hung up and leaned against the wall. This was it. The moment she'd known was coming. The moment where she'd have to choose between the life she was born into and the life she'd built in stolen weeks and borrowed time. She chose wrong. The detective's report landed on Daniel's doorstep 3 days after Lily came home from the hospital. Brown manila envelope. No return address. Inside, photographs, bank statements, a copy of the contract Evelyn's lawyer had drawn up, and a note in Victoria Cavendish's precise handwriting. Now you know the truth. She was never yours. It was always about the money. End this, or I will destroy you publicly and take everything you love. Daniel read it 3 times, each word a nail in his chest. The contract he'd signed, the one he'd convinced himself was just a formality, was there in black and white. Proof that this had always been a transaction, that Evelyn had bought him like a piece of furniture. The photographs were worse. Evelyn at charity galas, smiling at men in tuxedos. Evelyn at board meetings, cold and professional. Evelyn in her old life, the one where people like Daniel didn't exist, except to serve her coffee or fix her car. He felt sick. He felt stupid. Most of all, he felt like a failure. Because he'd known. Deep down, he'd always known this was too good to be true. Women like Evelyn didn't fall for men like him. Not really. Not in any way that lasted. When Evelyn came for dinner that night, chattering about Lily's physical therapy progress, Daniel handed her the envelope. What's this? Open it. She did. He watched her face drain of color as she flipped through the pages. When she looked up, her eyes were desperate. Daniel, I can explain. Can you? Because what I'm seeing here is a business arrangement, a transaction. You bought a husband and a daughter for 6 months because it was convenient for you. No, it started that way, but what? But you decided to slum it for a while, play house with the poor people. His voice was rising. Were you going to tell me your parents had investigated me? That they know everything? Or were you just going to disappear one day when this got too real? That's not fair. Fair? Daniel laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? I let you into our lives. I let Lily call you mom. I let myself believe that someone like you could actually care about someone like me. And the whole time, there's a contract with an expiration date and a price tag. Evelyn's hands shook. Yes, there's a contract. Yes, I paid you. But everything else, everything that happened between us, that was real. I love you, Daniel. I love Lily. That's not fake. How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to believe anything you say when you've been lying from the beginning? I never lied about my feelings. You lied about everything else. He ran his hands through his hair. You know what the worst part is? I was falling in love with you. Real, terrifying, forever kind of love. The kind I thought I'd never feel again after Sarah died. And you were just playing a part. I wasn't. Stop. Daniel's voice broke. Just stop. My daughter's in the next room recovering from surgery. Surgery you paid for as part of a business deal. Every time I look at her, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that her health, her life, came at the price of your entertainment. That's not what this was. Then what was it, Evelyn? Explain it to me in a way that doesn't make me feel like a prostitute. The word hung between them like poison. Evelyn flinched. You're twisting this? Am I? Because your mother seems pretty clear. She says I have 2 choices. End this quietly, or she destroys me publicly. Takes Lily away. Ruins whatever reputation I have left. He pulled out a second piece of paper. She was helpful enough to include a list of how she'd do it. False police reports. Anonymous tips to child services. Getting me fired. She's very thorough, your mother. Evelyn grabbed the paper, read it, and went pale. She's bluffing. Is she? Because from where I'm standing, she's a billionaire with unlimited resources and a vendetta. I'm a factory worker with a daughter to protect. Who do you think wins that fight? I'll fight her. I'll fight them both. With what? Daniel's voice was tired now, defeated. You'll be cut off. Disinherited. You'll have nothing, and then what? You think love is enough? You think we can live on good intentions? Yes. Evelyn grabbed his hands. Yes, I do. Because I've had money my whole life and I've never been happy. But these last few months in this tiny house, eating burnt food and reading bedtime stories, I've been happier than I ever thought possible. That has to mean something. It means you were playing pretend. This isn't a fairy tale, Evelyn. This is real life. My real life. And in real life, princes don't marry paupers. Rich girls don't give up everything for love. They get bored and they leave and they go back to where they belong. You don't believe that. I have to believe that. Because the alternative is believing that we could work and then losing you anyway. And I can't survive that. Not again. He pulled his hands away. Lily can't survive that. So what are you saying? Daniel forced the words out. I'm saying this is over. Take your money. Go back to your life. Marry whoever your parents picked out for you. Just leave us alone. Daniel, please. I'm saying goodbye, Evelyn, before this destroys all of us. Tears streamed down her face. What about Lily? You're just going to let her think I abandoned her? I'll tell her the truth. That grown-ups sometimes can't make relationships work. That it's not her fault. That you loved her, but you had to go. Each word was agony. She'll understand eventually. She'll be devastated. She'll heal. Kids are resilient. He didn't believe it, but he said it anyway. But if this continues, if your mother makes good on her threats, Lily could lose everything. Her home, her father. I won't risk that. I can't. Evelyn stood there, broken and beautiful and completely lost. I love you, she whispered. That has to count for something. It counts for everything. That's why I'm letting you go. Daniel opened the door. Goodbye, Evelyn. She left. She actually left. Daniel stood at the window and watched her car disappear into the night, and he felt something inside him shatter. The same thing that had shattered when Sarah died. The thing he'd foolishly allowed to heal over the past few months. He'd been right all along. Hope was dangerous. Love was a luxury he couldn't afford. Behind him, he heard Lily's small voice. Daddy, where's Mom going? Daniel turned. His daughter stood in the hallway, holding Mr. Hops, her eyes wide and confused. How much had she heard? She had to leave, baby. Is she coming back? No. The word felt like swallowing glass. She's not coming back. Why not? Did I do something wrong? Lily's voice climbed, panicked. I can be better. I can be really good. Please call her back. It's not your fault. Daniel scooped her up, held her tight. It's not your fault. Sometimes grown-ups just can't make things work. Lily sobbed into his shoulder. But she said she loved us. She promised she'd stay. I know, baby. I know. They stood there in the dark living room, holding each other while Lily cried. Daniel stared at the spot where Evelyn had stood minutes before, and he wondered if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life, or if he'd just saved them both from an even bigger one. He didn't know. He might never know. All he knew was that the house felt empty again, colder, like all the warmth had left with her, and there was no one to blame but himself. The next morning, Daniel called in sick to work. He couldn't face the factory, the questions, the pitying looks from co-workers who'd seen him happy for the first time in years. Instead, he sat with Lily, who refused to eat breakfast, refused to get dressed, just sat on the couch staring at the door like Evelyn might walk back through it. She's really not coming back? Lily asked for the 100th time. No, sweetheart. Ever. I don't think so. Lily was quiet for a long time. Then, you made her leave, didn't you? Daniel's stomach dropped. What makes you say that? I heard you. Last night. You told her to go. Lily's eyes were accusing. You said goodbye. Lily, it's complicated. That's what grown-ups always say when they do something mean. She stood up, clutching Mr. Hops. You made her leave because you were scared. Just like you wouldn't let me have a dog because you were scared. Just like you won't let me do anything because you're always scared. That's not fair. You're not fair. Lily's voice cracked. She loved us. I know she did. And you sent her away because you don't think we deserve to be happy. You think being sad is safer. She ran to her room and slammed the door. Daniel sat there, his daughter's words echoing in his head, out of the mouths of babes. Lily was 6 years old and she'd seen right through him. He was scared, terrified, of losing someone again, of not being enough, of building something beautiful and watching it collapse. So he'd destroyed it first, on his terms, before life could do it for him. And now he was alone again, exactly like he'd been before Evelyn crashed into his life on that snowy night. Safe, miserable, surviving instead of living. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Mr. Foster?" A woman's voice, crisp and professional. "This is Catherine Ward. I'm Evelyn Cavendish's attorney. I need to inform you that Ms. Cavendish has transferred the remaining $100,000 to your account, as per your contract. She's also added an additional $300,000 as a gift for Lily's future education and medical needs. No strings attached." Daniel felt sick. "I don't want her money. It's not a negotiation. The transfer is complete. Additionally, Ms. Cavendish has asked me to convey that she's resigning from Cavendish Industries, effective immediately. She's refusing her inheritance and severing all financial ties with her family. She wanted you to know that her decision was hers alone, and that she hopes you and Lily will be happy." The line went dead. Daniel stared at his phone. Evelyn had given up everything. Her company, her inheritance, her family. Not to win him back, not to prove a point, but because she'd meant what she said. She'd rather have a real life even without him than a fake fortune. And he'd sent her away. "What have I done?" he whispered. Daniel spent 3 days in hell. 3 days of Lily barely speaking to him. 3 days of Mrs. Chen looking at him like he'd kicked a puppy. 3 days of lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation with Evelyn and realizing, too late, that he'd been so afraid of being hurt, that he'd hurt the person he loved most. On the 4th day, Lily left an envelope on the kitchen table. Her name was written on it in careful, shaky letters. Inside was a drawing, 3 stick figures again, but this time one was separated from the other 2 by a dark scribble, a wall, or maybe a chasm. Below it, in Lily's handwriting, "You broke our family." Daniel found her in her room, packing Mr. Hops into a small backpack. "What are you doing, baby?" "Running away." Lily didn't look at him. "To find Mom. She needs to know we still want her." "Lily, you can't run away." "Why not? You did." She turned and her eyes were fierce. "You ran away from Mom because you were scared. So I'm running away to find her because I'm brave." The words hit him like a truck. This 6-year-old child who'd lost her mother, who'd just survived heart surgery, who had every reason to be afraid of everything, was braver than he was. "You're right," Daniel said quietly. He sat on her bed. "I ran away. I was so scared of losing her that I pushed her away first. And that was wrong. That was cowardly. So go get her back." "I don't know if I can. I said terrible things. I hurt her." Lily climbed into his lap, something she hadn't done in days. "Mommy Sarah used to say that sorry isn't just a word. It's an action. You have to show people you're sorry, not just say it." Daniel's throat tightened. "Your mommy was very smart. So are you, when you're not being dumb." Lily looked up at him. "Daddy, I love you, but you have to fix this, because I need a mom. And you need someone who makes you smile like she did. And she needs us too. I know she does." "How do you know?" "Because she looked at us the same way we looked at her, like we were the best thing in the world." Lily's voice got small. "Doesn't she deserve to know we still think she's the best thing in the world?" Daniel hugged his daughter tight. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just don't listen." He laughed, really laughed, for the first time in 4 days. Okay, let's go get her back." "Really?" "Really, but I'm going to need your help." Lily grinned. "I'm very helpful." Finding Evelyn was harder than Daniel expected. She'd checked out of her penthouse. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her assistant, when he finally got through to her, said Ms. Cavendish was taking personal time and was not to be disturbed. It was Mrs. Chen who gave him the lead. "I saw her," the old woman said, 3 days ago, at the community center where I volunteer. She was asking about available positions, teaching, counseling, anything. She looked lost. The community center was a 20-minute drive. Daniel left Lily with Mrs. Chen, promising he'd be back soon. He found Evelyn in a classroom, setting up chairs. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked exhausted. She looked beautiful. Evelyn. She turned, and the hope that flashed across her face before she could hide it nearly destroyed him. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" "Looking for you." He stepped into the room. "I've been looking for 3 days." "Why?" Her voice was careful, guarded. "I thought you wanted me gone." "I am gone." "I was wrong." The words felt inadequate. "I was so wrong, Evelyn, about everything. You weren't wrong about the contract. You weren't wrong that I paid you. Those things were true, but they weren't the whole truth. Daniel moved closer. The truth is that you walked into my life and turned it upside down. You made me remember what it felt like to hope, to want something more than just survival, and that terrified me. So, you pushed me away. Yes, because I've lost before. I lost Sarah, and it nearly destroyed me. I couldn't go through that again. He stopped a few feet from her. But then Lily told me something. She said she was brave enough to fight for you, even if I wasn't. And I realized that if my 6-year-old daughter has more courage than I do, I'm doing something very wrong. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. Daniel, your mother-in-law threatened to destroy you, to take Lily away. I can't let that happen. Let me worry about that. I've already talked to a lawyer. Victoria can threaten all she wants, but she has no grounds. I'm a good father. I have a stable home. And if she tries anything, we'll fight her. Together. Together. If you'll have us. Daniel's voice broke. I know I don't deserve a second chance. I know I hurt you. But Evelyn, I love you. Not because of what you can give me. Not because of any contract. I love you because you read bedtime stories in funny voices and you learned to cook even though you burned everything at first. I love you because you look at Lily like she hung the moon. I love you because when you're with us, you're not Evelyn Cavendish, the heiress. You're just Evelyn, the woman who makes our house feel like a home. Tears streamed down her face. You really hurt me. I know. You made me feel like I was nothing, like what we had meant nothing. I know. And I will spend the rest of my life making up for that if you let me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. This isn't a contract. This isn't a business arrangement. This is me, asking you to marry me for real. No expiration date, no terms and conditions. Just two broken people who are better together than apart. Evelyn stared at the ring. It wasn't expensive. A simple band with a small diamond, probably everything Daniel could afford. It was perfect. What about your pride? She whispered. What about not wanting to be saved by a rich woman? My pride almost cost me everything that matters. I'm done letting it make decisions for me. Daniel took her hand. And you're not saving me, Evelyn. We're saving each other. What about Lily? She must hate me for leaving. She's the one who convinced me to come after you. She said you looked at us like we were the best thing in the world, and we should make sure you know you're the best thing in ours. He smiled. She's waiting for an answer, by the way. I promised I'd bring you home. Home. Evelyn tested the word. I don't have a home anymore. I gave up my penthouse. I severed ties with my family. I have an apartment with rental furniture and no idea what I'm doing with my life. Then come home with us. To our tiny house with the leaky roof and the temperamental heating. To our world of burnt dinners and bedtime stories and ordinary beautiful chaos. Daniel went down on one knee. Marry me, Evelyn. Not as part of a deal. Not as an arrangement. Marry me because you love us and we love you. And that's the only thing that matters. Evelyn looked at him. At this man who'd saved her life in more ways than one. At the life he was offering. So different from the one she'd known. No mansion. No trust fund. No safety net except each other. It was everything she wanted. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Daniel stood and kissed her. Really kissed her. Like he should have done months ago, with no fear or hesitation or doubt. Just love, pure and simple and absolutely terrifying and completely worth it. When they broke apart, Evelyn was laughing and crying at the same time. We're going to be so poor. Probably. Your house only has 2 bedrooms. We'll figure it out. My parents are going to make our lives difficult. Let them try. Daniel slid the ring onto her finger. We've got something they'll never understand. We've got real. They picked up Lily on the way home. The little girl took one look at them, saw the ring on Evelyn's finger and screamed with joy. She launched herself at Evelyn, who caught her and spun her around. You came back. I came back, and I'm never leaving again. Promise? I promise. That night, they had dinner together. Just the 3 of them in their tiny kitchen, eating takeout because no one felt like cooking. Lily chattered non-stop about the wedding, about the dress she wanted, about how she was going to be the flower girl and also the ring bearer because why should she have to choose? After Lily went to bed, Daniel and Evelyn sat on the couch wrapped around each other. Are you sure about this? Evelyn asked. About giving up your independence? About being with someone whose family might never accept you? I've never been more sure of anything. Daniel kissed her temple. But I have to know, do you regret it? Giving up your inheritance, your company? No. Evelyn didn't even hesitate. I've been free for the first time in my life these past few days. Terrified and broke and lost, but free. And now I'm free and home. That's everything. What will you do? For work? I'm going to teach at the community center. Help kids who come from backgrounds like mine. Too much money, not enough love. Teach them that there's more to life than balance sheets and board meetings. She smiled. It doesn't pay much, but it pays enough. We'll make it work. I know we will. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Evelyn said, Daniel, thank you for being brave enough to come after me, even when it was hard. Thank Lily, she's the brave one. She learned it from you. The wedding was 3 months later. Small, simple, in the backyard of their house. Mrs. Chen officiated. Lily wore a dress that Evelyn had sewn herself, complete with pockets for flower petals and the ring. Daniel wore his new suit, the one Evelyn had bought him for that first dinner. Evelyn wore a white dress from a department store. Nothing designer, nothing expensive, just something that made her feel like herself. Richard and Victoria Cavendish did not attend, but that was okay. Daniel's co-workers did, the neighbors did, Lily's teachers and classmates, people who mattered, people who cared. When Daniel said his vows, his voice shook. Evelyn, you crashed into my life, literally, and you changed everything. You taught me that it's okay to hope again, to love again, to believe that good things can happen, even to ordinary people like me. I promise to love you, to support you, to be the partner you deserve, not because a contract says so, but because you're the best thing that's ever happened to us. Evelyn could barely get through hers without crying. Daniel, you saved my life. And then you showed me what a life worth living actually looks like. You taught me that love isn't about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about showing up. It's about burnt macaroni and bedtime stories and choosing each other every single day. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of my life. When they kissed, Lily cheered so loud that everyone laughed. At the reception, makeshift and perfect in the backyard, Lily gave a speech. Daniel had tried to talk her out of it, worried she was too young, but Evelyn had insisted. I want to tell you about my mom, Lily said, standing on a chair so everyone could see her. Not my first mom, who's an angel now. My second mom, who's right here. Evelyn's hands flew to her mouth. When Mom first came to our house, I didn't know if she'd stay. Lots of people don't stay. But she did. She learned how to cook even though she was really bad at it. She read me stories and did all the voices right. She sat with me in the hospital and held my hand when I was scared. And she loved my daddy when he forgot how to love himself. Daniel's eyes were wet. Evelyn was openly crying. So, thank you, Mom, for staying. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for being brave enough to love our family, even when it was hard. Lily raised her juice box. To Mom and Dad, my whole family. Everyone raised their glasses. To family. 1 year later, they were still in the same small house, still struggling sometimes to make ends meet, still figuring out how to balance 2 jobs, 1 child, and a marriage built on the ruins of a contract that had stopped mattering the moment they'd kissed for the first time. But they were happy. Stupidly, impossibly happy. Lily's heart was strong. Her grades were good. She'd started taking piano lessons, which she was terrible at, but she loved it anyway. She'd stopped asking about why her first mom had died. She'd started talking about the future instead of the past. Daniel got promoted at the factory. Not a huge promotion, but enough that they could afford little luxuries. A dog, finally. A vacation to the beach. New shoes for Lily without having to wait for payday. Evelyn's work at the community center had expanded. She'd started a mentorship program for teens from wealthy families struggling with parental pressure. She'd written an article about her experience that had gone viral. She was happy, fulfilled, free. On their first anniversary, Daniel came home to find Evelyn crying in the kitchen. What's wrong? Did something happen? She turned to him and he saw she was laughing through the tears. I'm pregnant. Daniel froze. What? I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I just found out. She wiped her eyes. I know we didn't plan this. I know money is tight. I know the house is small. But Daniel, I've never wanted anything more in my life than to have your baby. He crossed the room in 3 steps and picked her up, spinning her around. Are you kidding? This is amazing. This is perfect. Really? Really? He set her down gently, his hand on her stomach. We'll figure it out. We always do. Lily walked in, saw them, and immediately knew something was up. What's happening? Evelyn knelt down. How would you feel about being a big sister? Lily's eyes went wide. Then she screamed. Then she hugged them both so hard they nearly fell over. I'm going to be the best big sister ever. I'm going to teach the baby everything. I'm going to protect them and share my toys and— Breathe, sweetheart. Daniel laughed. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep, too excited to stay still for long, Daniel and Evelyn sat on their front porch. It was snowing, light flurries that reminded them both of the night they'd met. Do you ever miss it? Daniel asked. Your old life? Not even for a second. Evelyn leaned against him. I traded a fortune for a family. Best deal I ever made. Even without a contract? Especially without a contract. She turned to kiss him. Some things are too important for paperwork. They sat there, watching the snow fall, thinking about the baby growing inside her, about Lily sleeping peacefully upstairs, about the life they'd built from broken pieces and second chances. Sometimes the biggest storms bring people together. Sometimes a blizzard saves your life in more ways than one. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out what really matters. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you find a family in the last place you expected to look. In a small house with a leaky roof, in burnt macaroni and bedtime stories, in the arms of someone who sees you not for what you're worth, but for who you are. That's not a contract. That's love. And love, as it turns out, is the only thing worth having.